Money Series 4. I'm Maria Cullimore, and we're going to talk about fractions. And so here we are talking about enough. Enough is a timeline, an unrealistic timeline that never happens. You never are paid enough. There is no job that ever pays you enough because you are constantly moving the marker. And what you don't want to do is to get into that habit of thinking I have to wait until enough occurs. Enough is never going to happen to you. Never. You're always going to have to make enough. You have to make what you get enough. So you see the difference. One is you're waiting for enough. Yes, one is realizing every amount you get paid is enough. Enough for what you got to do right now. So first of all, whatever you get paid as your salary is where you need to start from. This is it. There's going to be taxes taken out. So what I get in my hand is my salary. What the job told you it was going to pay you is irrelevant. Only what you get in your hand matters because you don't have a say. You do not have a say in where it goes. So make peace with that, let go, and focus on what do I have in hand. And how am I going to make what I have in hand work for me? So I always tell people, you start with fractions. Fractions is whatever I get, I'm going to make do. And I'm going to parcel it out in this manner, regardless, regardless of what I want. So I always tell people, let's start with the 10% rule. 10% is your savings. It is yours. It doesn't come out at the end of your money. It comes out at the beginning. Because if push comes to shove, that is also your insurance money. If anything you need, any incidences, any shorts, you have to borrow from you. And it's perfectly okay to go back to zero, but what you don't want is debt. So you're going to focus that money. I'm going to stick with my 10%. You're going to always pay me first. If anything, and people need to be owed, let people be owed. Because it also doesn't mean as soon as the bill comes up, you take up that savings and go. No, you have to get that savings to a state where you are comfortable. You have to pick these figures, right? I think I told you in the last video, true wealth is when you have a year of your salary saved. So if we at 10%, you have a way to go. So we're going to save that 10%. And then we're going to, then we're going to make sure we live off of 50% of the salary. Now, if for whatever reason your expenses well exceed the 50%, that means you're going to look for what you're going to reduce or drop. You're going to look for how am I going to increase it to match then the 50% I need in order to cover it, or how am I going to manage? What else do I need to do to get me back to 50%? So it's either going to be a reduction of what you do presently do or an increase in the income options, which means you probably should have more than one income stream. Remember that. Right, where was I? So then there is the remainder. The remainder is 40%. Now that 40% can be used to clear all debt. Why I like the 40% also is because once you stick to an exact figure or an exact percentage, clearing your debt then is routine. How am I going to move this over the space? And how am I going to operate with this? Once you start out with your fractions, now the ideal is to save 30%, but that is after debt, after you get rid of your debt. Once your debt, no, debt is not utilities. Utilities go under living. Debt is utilities that go over what they normally are. Debt is bills like courts. Debt is loans. Debt is money you gotta pay back. Some don't share it because you borrowed for something. Excuse me. Sometimes your car payment can go into debt as well as your debt. Excuse me. The point, but living is your utilities, your food, your transportation to getting to and from work. Good. So you want to separate one side from the next, but then you want to approach it systematic. So the 40% allows that systematic approach. I personally believe in the snowball method, where I pay my smallest debt so that I feel fantastic, and I clear off a lot of little foolish debts that are annoying my system, and then out of the 40%, and then slowly, as soon as I clear those off, I keep adding them to my bigger debts, helping my big debts to then move past where they originally were. Sometimes just this restructuring, just a small portion of, let me pay a little less so I can survive better, takes the struggle out of paying debt. And once you take the struggle out, you can start to see wealth building. What do I mean by take the struggle out? Now remember, debt is very emotional. And so if you constantly feel like you're struggling, you can barely keep your head above water, you're doing all that you were supposed to do, and you're still here, you're struggling. When you feel like, I got this, bills can come, I can manage them, I can pay the difference, I got room for surprises, you start to feel freedom. That's what the savings is supposed to do for you. And let me say it also, with my snowball effect, once I have my savings, let's say I've been saving for 4 months and I was saving at $100, right? I will take 70%, 75% of that, or 70% of that, right? And I will say jump one of my debts by the $300 extra. Like take one of my debts and splurge with the $300. That constant jump, that ever so often jump, helps so much at reducing my debt faster. So all the time I could be behind, and then because I had the savings and I took out this amount and then sent it to a debt, I feel empowered. One, I feel like, oh, I've brought down my debt by a lot. And it's the good feeling that you want to perpetuate, to propel you along. This good feeling also helps with your creativity and looking at opportunities. So all of a sudden now you are looking at your opportunities differently, and you go to yourself, wait a second, you know what? I could sell this. I could do this on the side. Somebody approached me now to do something that I took as a hobby and want to pay me for it. And I like, hell yes. You want a crochet cup holder? I can do crochet cup holders. Oh wait, you need you want to buy a plant from me that I got just growing out there that cost me nothing? Oh yes, I am great at planting. I got a real green thumb. I can sell the plant to you. I can help you even make this section of your garden look really good with plants, because I really am great with plants. You understand? And you then are able to take what seems like a seemingly unimportant skill you had before and turn it into a business. Lots of people need to do this. They aren't necessarily doing it, but this method can also work if, for example, you decide, let's say I'm throwing a meeting term with some friends, and whenever my meeting term comes around, I literally use it to push forward my debt. Not to buy nonsense, not to pay for a birthday party, but to push my debt further along. So I know I'm in the meeting turn. I know why I'm in the meeting turn. So it's like I've taken a portion, can't be all of your savings, a portion of my savings. I'm doing this meeting turn. I am consistent with it because I am consistent with my savings. And once that money comes in, let's say it's $1,000, I decide, oh, I'm going to get rid of this, that, this, that, this, that. Or I'm just going to give the lump sum to my car and push forward that, providing there are no penalties. There are some institutions where the push forward has a penalty and you are allowed a certain amount of push forwards, so it might be best to save it. We'd have to talk about credit card on another video. That's a whole other science. But remember fractions. This is good for you. Start practicing your fractions.